From a meeting at the office to a big first date, there's a lot of pressure to wear the right clothes for every event. But clothes don't make the man. So why stuff your closet with things that only work for some situations? With Mack Weldon, you can build a wardrobe that looks polished in any setting. Their clothing is understated and tells the world that you stay you wherever you go. They craft each piece by combining timeless style and modern performance materials, so you can stay looking good and feeling comfortable from morning to evening. No wardrobe changes required. Browse everything from summer-ready tech linen shorts and anti-odor polos to tailored sweats and crews for a night in. They can outfit you for anything, no matter what's on your agenda for the day. Go to MackWeldon.com and get 25% off your first order of $125 or more with promo code MACK25. That's MackWeldon.com. Promo code MACK25.
Stop right there. Yeah, you. If you like all things entertainment, current events, or Hollywood, then look no further. Creator to Creators, hosted by director Meosha Bean of Horror Noir, interviews filmmakers and creatives from around the world. Join in on the fun, guest celebrities, and informative information to have as a creator. Hit subscribe and stay connected to Creator to Creators.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators today. Today we have a special guest.
Rhett Daneka, lead singer of Daneka Nation.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So I'm super excited to have you on. I looked at your bio. You're super talented, and I just love talking to creatives. And I find I love going back to the beginning. I always find that the beginning, like how we start, kind of shows kind of charts our trajectories, like so little things that we get into, like little things kind of follow us when we're older. How did you find your way? Like, tell me a little bit about your childhood and then kind of like, how did you find your way into music?
My childhood was pretty normal. I wasn't the most popular. I wasn't the most unpopular, just somewhere in the middle, maybe the top 2/3. But when I was graduating high school, in my senior year, I started taking flying lessons. And I was all in love with flying. I went all in. It takes about 5 years to get all the way up to be able to have your airline transport pilot license. And I graduated. I got that at age 23, which is that's the earliest you can get it, is age 23.
Wow.
And so I was involved in flying all through the 90s. I was a Gold Seal flight instructor at one of Houston's largest airports, and that's Hooks Airport in Houston. And I flew there for a long time, taught a lot of people to fly, and ended up going to Corpus Christi and flying an air ambulance there, where we would go and we would go to Brownsville, Harlingen, McAllen, Laredo, basically all the South Texas towns, and we would bring back babies that needed urgent care, that were just born. And Corpus Christi had the best baby hospital in Texas. And so we as soon as the doctor said that the baby was okay to fly, we would all hands on deck and go pick him or her up and bring them back to Corpus and Driscoll Hospital. And so it was fun. I kind of, the flying part was probably the funnest flying I ever had, because we had priority over every airplane. So anytime at Corpus, if there were 3 or 4 or 5 Southwest Airlines jets waiting to take off, the controller would always tell me, just tell me when you're ready to go and you'll be clear.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd call them, and they'd say, taxi in front of all those jets in front of you and you're clear for takeoff. So it was fun. And as soon as we got airborne, they would usually clear me direct to the destination, where I could just go off of my computer and just, if we were going to Laredo, I just punch in Laredo Airport and they just take us right there.
Wow.
But that was real fun. I did that for a couple of years, and it kind of burned on me, because I was on the pager 24 hours, 7 days a week. And as you know, babies are born at all times of the day.
Right.
and night. And so, when the pager went off, I had 30 minutes to get to the airport, plane pulled out, plane gassed up, flight plan filed, and ready for the ambulance to get there with the stretcher. And then when they got there, we'd load the stretcher in and take off and go get the baby and bring it back.
Wow. That's incredible.
After that, I'm kind of third generation car sales. My grandfather retired out of it. My dad
Okay.
retired out of it. And I just kind of burned out of flying a little bit and decided to, wholesale used cars. And I would buy Chevrolet pickups that were like 10 years old, and I would refurbish them and resell them out of the paper. So I
Mm.
did that for probably 15 years. And then um, somewhere around 2004, I started dating a girl and she loved karaoke. And so we would be going to the karaoke bars every weekend. And I just decided, it's time for me to get up there because, it's no fun sitting here. I might as well see what it is. And, I got up there and of course I was terrible. And I was terrible for a while. And me and her eventually broke up. And it was really weird that in a I kind of paused the karaoke a little bit, and then I decided I liked it. And I started going by myself. And one night I was in a Mexican food restaurant, and I met an 84-year-old man that was 85% blind.
Wow.
And his daughter would drop him off at the karaoke bar, and she would go down the road and play cards at a bar, and then she'd come back and pick him up. And so we got to know each other really well. And I couldn't sing, and he couldn't drive. So it turned out to be a match made in heaven.
Right.
So I would drive us to all the karaoke bars in Houston, and he would teach me on the way to the bar or on the way from the bar. We'd try out different songs, and he'd say, do this, don't do that, and he would just guide me. And we were really, I could easily say we were the probably the most famous karaoke duo in Houston history.
Wow.
We would go out 5, sometimes 6 nights a week, and we'd hit 2 or 3 different bars every night.
Wow.
So we did that for, probably 6 to 8 years. And he ended up passing away in 2015.
Sorry to hear that.
So I took another brief, I got into the concrete housing business. I had a friend of mine that got me a job, and actually it's still the one I have right now. But in 2020, I decided, with Spotify out there, Apple Music, and I had released a couple of songs, like back around 2010, 2011, 2012. But there was no Spotify, no Apple. There was no way to promote your song.
Right.
And so all I could do is put it out on CD Baby and just hope that somebody listened to it. Of course, nobody did, I don't guess. But I guess the singing bug bit me again around 2020, and I just decided I was gonna go all in.
I love
I was
that.
single, can go anywhere I want, whenever I want. And so I started the recording of the first song, In a Different Light. And that was a cover song by Doug Stone. And I believe he released it in the early 90s. And I believe it hit number 1. So we changed it up a little bit. We sped it up a little bit, and we kind of rocked it out a little bit. I released it, and it did okay. We've released 7 songs so far. And
Wow. That's awesome.
Sacred Ground, our newest release right now, that's out, is by far the most popular, and the ones that my friends and family say it's that's the best song that you've done. And right now, I think we're like 315,000 listeners on Spotify, and we're about 70,000 on YouTube.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
those are really the only 2 that you can keep up with. Is YouTube and Spotify. I keep up with them daily.
Nice.
But it's getting about 10,000 listeners per day right now, and I'm just
That's
hoping
awesome.
that some radio stations will pick it up and start playing it.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that you just was like, that you got the bug again and you went for it. I feel like this industry, well, any like the creative field, right? It requires like, having no fear and going after something that, the unknown almost, like you don't know.
It's it's literally it's got to be, if there's a tougher business out there, I want to know what it is.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
this is the DJs at the radio stations, they will not play your songs. They get they get tub buckets full of CDs every morning, I heard, and
Wow.
they just have one of their employees take it out to the dumpster and dump all the CDs in the dumpster. So you just have to, everybody gets a break, or everybody that's made it gets a break.
Hmm.
And I'm just waiting on to see what mine will be, and hopefully I'll get one.
Yeah, I
Because
think this, and like you said, it is a tough industry. And I mean, nowadays, like you said, we have Spotify with, now AI is here, so everything is
yeah,
literally online. Um, and I think it kind of does make the competition a little harder to get your stuff heard, but it also in that same sentence, I think it is also like easier to get your stuff out there. Like you have Instagram, you have TikTok, all the users that are on there and the reach that you could, connect with. So I think it's just figuring out what platform, and as in the words of Gary Vee, who's like a social media guru, um, you know, it's they say that, it's his, he says that it's good to be on all the platforms,
yeah,
just if you're trying to do music or anything creative, because you just never know, you never know
right.
what's gonna um kind of launch or, you know, hit or be a hit. Um, Tell me a little bit about like as far as like when it comes to your like the music process of making music. Do you have like a process?
Yeah, and it's yeah, I'm sure you've never heard this before either. I'm kind of a one man band, and
Okay, yeah.
I met a I met a guy in Argentina, and he plays every instrument, and so I'll uh, I'll send him, or I'll talk to him on the phone or whatever, and I'll tell him what I'm looking for, and he'll start putting stuff together for me, and being that he plays every instrument, I mean, we can take instruments out, we can add them. Um, we can speed songs up, which we've done that to just about every one. Is just sped it up a little bit, make it more of a kind of turn it from a country song to a country rock song.
Nice.
And we'll go back and forth 4 or 5 times. Like he'll send me the music, and I'll say, okay, change this, fix this, and then we usually go back and forth like 4 or 5 times. And then when we get the music done, he'll send it to my sound engineer that's in Houston, about 20 miles from where I live. And then we'll bring in the backup vocals, and we'll knock out all the lyrics to the song.
Nice.
And our last one, Sacred Ground, went really fast and really quick. I mean, it was probably the fastest song that we've ever done.
Nice.
So
I love the
it's a
title to that, by the way. It's really nice.
And the lyrics to that song are just amazing. I mean, they're just outstanding lyrics.
What
Kind
like
of,
what inspired that song for you?
I was just Houston had a country oldies station. We lost it about 3 months ago. And
Hmm.
I was just driving down the road one day, and I was in the, I guess I was in the country in the late 70s. And then when the 80s hair metal bands hit, then I kind of flipped over to the hair metal bands. And so I would know a lot of these songs that they played. They were just classic country songs. And I was just driving down the road one day, and I heard Sacred Ground, and I was just like, wow, I got to do that. And so I came home, and I checked out Wikipedia and found out, McBride and the Ride sang it. But also
Nice.
turns out that the song has a whole another story to it. You've heard of the band Brooks and Dunn?
That sounds, yeah, very familiar. Yeah.
Kix Brooks actually wrote this song back in 1989, and
Wow.
he released it. And I think it only got into the 70s as far as the country hits chart. It only made it into like the mid 70s. I mean, it didn't even come close to number one. But he just kind of, I guess he just kind of ditched the song. And in 1992, McBride and the Ride came across the song and said, "Well, we want to do that. We want to do our version." And so they recorded their version in 1992, and it got all the way to number two in the country charts. And the only
Wow.
song that beat it out was "Achy Breaky Heart."
Huh.
So they, the band was all saying, "Well, if we would have just released it one month before or one month after that, we would have probably had a number one song.
That's
But we had to release
gnarly.
it when Achy Breaky Heart was out." So just kind of
Wow.
got a strange story to it. Hopefully we can add to it and make it better.
Absolutely. And I think that's what it's all about. It's just again, like, I think that's like every, when you think about like the greats that has passed on and had songs, I think, there you could see the progression. Like I think there's sometimes you're not gonna get it, but then there's you do like it's like that it's all about timing and um
Right.
just keeping it going really, and then something's bound to, take off. I think it's as long as you love it, right? And I think that's the most important
Hmm.
part about this journey is that, figuring out why you like something and what makes you do it. If you're just doing it for the numbers, then or money, it's like, then it's gonna be a little tough at first. Um,
Yeah, I have another thing about me is I've got a post it right on my bathroom mirror, and number one goal is make it in music.
yeah,
Number two goal is to sell out large arenas. Number three is to play Rodeo Houston, the largest rodeo in the world. And so every morning when I brush my teeth, that's what I look at.
I love that. I love that. It's a good reminder. Yeah, I think that's actually very good thing to do. So I have a
And it's like,
fun. So
what can
yeah,
I do today to get myself further ahead than I was yesterday?
100%. And I think it starts with mindset, you know, and as long
Hmm.
as you constantly keep that like reminder to yourself, like, there's nothing that you can't do, because I mean, I look at my career sometimes when I first started, I was horrible. And, and I am not afraid to admit it, and then over time, I just got better and just kept plugging away. And then it's like watering a seed. Eventually it grows.
If you keep punching the door, at some point it's got to open.
Absolutely. 100%. So I have a fun question I love to ask everyone on the show. There's no wrong answer, but if the three levels of influence, money, power, and respect, and if you could choose one of those three things, which one would you choose and why?
Um, I would pick I would pick respect. Um,
Nice.
I would rather people respect me than uh, like me because I had a bunch of money. Um, and I think winning people's respect is harder than anything else.
Mm,
Um, I guess it's easier as long as you're your true self, which I am. I mean, it's like, but but I would say, just having everybody's respect would be super special.
yeah, that's a good answer. Great answer. Um, um, okay, so I love asking this part too because everyone loves when they listen to this show, they like to ask, for advice. What advice would you give to someone that wants to get into music?
I would tell them, I really think the best way to go about it nowadays is the karaoke scene.
Yeah.
That it allows you actually to be an artist without being an artist.
Yeah.
Allows you to sing in front of people, but you're not really singing in front of a paid audience. You're singing in front of an audience that's already there. And I would tell them just as try to surround yourself with the best people. Um, like if I don't know how to do something, I'll hire somebody to do it that knows how to do it.
Right.
Like
Right.
I'm not into computers like we had talked before, and so I have a lady that does all my computer stuff.
Nice.
So that's why it's just if you don't know how to do something, find the best person available and let them do it, and then that way it may cost you a little bit of cash, but they will get you there faster than you will get yourself there, whatever
Absolutely.
goal that is.
No, that's really good advice. I feel like you know, I think a lot of people want to like, I think a lot of people, especially young people, when they want it, or just people in general, they get into this business and they're like, oh, it does look appealing. I mean, when I was a kid, I was very much attracted to the film world, and I wanted to be, I was like, ooh, I want to do that. Like Alfred Hitchcock was definitely someone who was, um, inspired me to get into cinema. Um, but the journey of it is ups and downs, but overall I think once you know what you love to do, there's no way you can quit or stop,
Correct.
so you're gonna
It's
see
like
it
being on
through.
stage. Being on stage is like it's just an experience when the people are going crazy and they love you. It's why so many of these older bands were back in the 80s, they're still traveling. They're just not playing arenas anymore. They're playing clubs. And it's
Mm,
just because they can't stand not being on stage.
yeah.
Uh, the Rolling Stones, I think they're in their 80s,
Yeah,
and
they are.
they just came through Houston about a year ago, year and a half ago, and they sold out our football stadium. So
Wow.
72,500 seats, and they sold every one of them out.
Wow. That's incredible. Like that just shows you it's not about like age. Like if your music's good and you've created that audience, they'll always be there, you know?
Yeah, the diehards will always be there.
The diehards, exactly. Do you feel like the music world and, is changing now for the better as far as like for the in favor of the artist?
Um, I'm not really sure. It's almost like with the whole computer and Twitter and social media and everything, that whenever I listen to interviews on TV or on the radio with other artists, it's almost like they tell you that, well, half the people on Twitter like me and half of them hate me. And so it's I don't know if it's for the artist that's a hard question because uh, the next song that we're doing is one by Laura Elena, and it's called "The Road Less Traveled." And the
Mm.
video starts with all these hate mail messages that she gets on her cell phone.
Oh,
And that's how the video starts. It's, you're too fat, you need to lose some weight, you need to this, that, whatever. And it shows all these hateful things. And I think as an artist, I think now you really, more than ever, I think you need to have alligator skin and just
yes.
let all this stuff bounce off of you. And if somebody legit, from your company or whatever comes up and say, "Hey, this is wrong. I think we need to change it, and this is why we need to change it,"
Right.
then definitely take that advice. And if you just decide to do it, make the change, make the change. But um, it's funny. I've released Sacred Ground, and I've got at least 3 or 4 computer screens full of radio DJs that have listened to the song.
I love that.
And you would think if there was, I'm guessing there was 40 or 50 of them. I never heard the same thing twice. It was like I released 40 or 50 different songs. Somebody would say, "Oh, I think the intro's too long," and then the next one would be, "Oh, I think the intro's too short." Oh, the music's, you know, oh, I love the drums on this part. You know, and somebody else would say, "Oh, I can't stand the drums on that part," but I love the drums the rest of the song. It's just you get so many conflicting messages. I don't think as an artist, I think you just have to push all that stuff away and go with your gut
Yeah.
and go with what you think is right. And, you know, obviously your band members, you know, everybody's got to be on the same page and everything. But if you change every time somebody wants you to change something, that's all you'd end up doing for the rest of your life is changing something.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I have a fun question, and I love asking this. If you could be managed by any artist, living or dead, who would it be and why?
So you're talking like a singer of a rock band or a country band?
Yeah, anyone. Sure.
Um, I would have to say Paul Stanley of Kiss.
Ah, that's a
He's
good
he's the
one.
lead he's the lead singer and guitar player, but he's he seems to be a really smart guy, really smart in the music business. Um, him and Gene Simmons obviously are the straws that stirred the drink and Kiss, and they went through a lot of adversity. I mean, there was before they even made it, they had four or five guitar all their they had all their music equipment stolen from them. So they not only they had to go buy guitars back and buy bass players and drummers and all that back. He's a really down to earth guy. I don't even think he drinks, but he's just the guy that kind of pops out at me is just he's mature enough to be a manager.
Yeah.
He's smart enough to be a manager. He's been he's been down that road before, so he would know, you know, what to tell me to do
Hmm.
at certain times. And he would also be, I would say, a mentor as that I could go and ask him, hey, what do I do here? You know, I got this problem.
Absolutely.
I think
Have you
that
ran
would
into
be
anything like that in your career lately? Like things that you didn't like you like those out of your like you didn't know what to do and didn't like you have someone to talk to like about those things?
I do a lot of that in the when we lay the vocals down on the song. I pay the backup vocal. There's a man and a woman that come in, and I pay them to not just do the backups, but I pay them to stay to hear me sing. So if they catch anything, if they hear anything that I can do better, so that would be the first thing that comes to my mind is I pay them not only to be backup singers but also to be my vocal coaches.
I like that. That's cool. What keeps you going in the rough times to keep pursuing the things that you do?
I just always think of when when I'm down, I can always look myself in the mirror and say, you know what, as bad off as I am right now, or as big of a problem I have right now in this world, I can always look behind me, and there's 500,000 or 100 or a million people that have a worse problem than I have. Is you know I can always go back and say I've got my health. I mean, I haven't been sick in over 20 years,
Wow.
so
It's
I've had
incredible.
no.
I'm like,
Um,
what's your secret?
I just I take I take the vitamins and I take the balance of nature.
Nice.
Maybe they'll get me to do a commercial one day, but the battle of nature is really it's the real deal. It
Mm,
um, I'd say that's one of the things that keeps me going is it just keeps you know your body full of the nutrients that it needs, and you know you may get tired. So sometimes you know I get the job I have. I'm out in the sun for 10 or 15 minutes, and it's 105 degrees outside, and you get real hot, and you just gotta get back in the car, get naked, air conditioning, and recharge
recharge.
the
Yeah.
battery, and go back out there and do it again. Um,
Love that.
but yeah, just I guess my goals keep me going, and just the fact of I'm 56 years old and I'm not getting any younger, and it's not later. So I'll have a little fun. I'll be able to have a lot of fun with it, getting through every day and trying to do something to help me get further down the road.
Absolutely. And I think it's never too late to. I think as long as you have that dream and goal in mind, I always say like it's never too late to start or to continue, like, because there was this lady, she always wanted to be in a big Hollywood picture, and she was 98 when she starred in this like huge Marvel movie. Um and I mean, she got her wish, she did it.
Wow.
And but it's just like it just kind of gave me hope, like, yeah, it's never too late. You just, when someone says, "Oh, you can't do that," yeah, I just don't listen to people.
Right.
Because I think people that say that they haven't done it in themselves. So
Well, I wouldn't say that I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of acquaintances because your friends don't want you to make it because then they're jealous. I would never go to, I have a couple of sort of close friends, and then I have a whole lot of acquaintances. And but your best friends are not going to give you the best advice. I mean, one of them,
that's true.
I was talking to one of them. He's been playing guitar since he was 5 years old, and he played in an Ozzy Osbourne cover band. And we were talking one night, and he's just like, "Well, you're not going to make it. Don't even think about that. Just you better think. Just go to your job every day, do a good job there, and retire." You know, and he's he's one of the most brutal friends I have, and he doesn't think I'm going to make it. And so the the more success I've had, the the less of a friendship that we have. It's just because he doesn't want to hear about it. He doesn't want to hear where I'm at. He doesn't want to hear that I have almost 3 million listeners on multiple platforms because he didn't do it. So, and
Mm.
he plays the guitar, and so he thinks he's the best guitar player since Eddie Van Halen. And I'm really not a good judge of that. I don't know if he is or isn't. He's probably somewhere in between. But I just think sometimes your friends and maybe sometimes your family just kind of just they want like my mother and my sister, they're always, well, where's the money? Where's the money? Well, the money takes years to come in, and the money will be paid to my estate years after I'm dead.
Right.
It's just that's how slow it is. I mean, it can be the soonest that you can get paid by a song is by Spotify, and it's like 4 months. And then, like I told you, I did a couple of songs 10 years ago. I'm still getting paid on those, and those were that was 10 years ago. So long for the money to trickle back to you because everybody takes their cut, until it gets back down to me. I'm the last one on the list.
It's I think too, when it comes to family or friends that don't get your journey. I feel like I have that too. I can't really just say anything to my family or that, like, because they don't, it's not their language of film, it's not their
Right.
world. So it's, I mean, I mean, of course they can be happy for me or whatever, but it's like, I don't expect them to like want to have deep conversations about cinema. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's like, and I think that's what for me, that kind of, I don't really share my wins a lot of times with like certain family members, just or friends, just because I think, like you said, it can be that of like they don't understand or they don't want to see you succeed, or I don't know. Some people don't, but I mean, I have family that know I do films, and I've made a bunch of movies and things like that, and probably they've never actually sat down to watch any of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some of them, but and that's okay. I feel like I think once you get like super, super famous is when people start to come around and say, "Oh, congratulations. I knew you could do it," you know?
Yeah, then everybody wants to be your friend, and everybody
Right.
wants free tickets to the show, and they want to get their picture with you and everything. It's a fine line. You just got to walk, and it's just It's like if you work at the same business that your best friend works at and you get a raise. I mean, that's probably the last person you want to go up and say, "Hey, guess what happened to me? I just got a raise." You know, and he's going to be, or she's going to be like, "Well, why didn't I get a raise?"
Right,
So,
exactly.
just some things I've just learned to keep my mouth shut a lot of
Yeah.
times when it
Yeah.
comes to stuff like that, because uh, it's just like I've always said, or somebody told me this sentence a long time ago, and I don't remember who it was, but if you have money or if you're famous, everybody wants to be a part. All your inner circle wants to be a part of it with you.
Yep.
You know, they all want to. They all want to. They all want some of your money. They want a loan. They want to buy a new house or whatever. Buy a Harley Davidson motorcycle. You know, everybody want. When you got money, everybody wants to be around you. But when you don't have money, nobody wants to be around you.
Right. I know they say that what is it? It's lonely at the top, and it's very true because you
Mm-hmm.
know, I know a few celebrities, and it's they're saying it's very very quiet because they have to kind of keep it that way because it's like you don't know who you can trust. So it's one of those things like it's a gift and it's also a curse almost like the fame part of what we love to do and that does come with it the more popular you get. So it's like, you just have to be prepared to understand that's just a part of it, unfortunately.
It's
But
funny. I was listening to an interview the other day, and it was on the local radio station, and they were interviewing a famous artist in country music today, of today. And he said, once she said, what's the biggest difference in your life right now? And he said, well, he said, there is no just going to the grocery store anymore, or going to the stop and go and buying a 6 pack of beer, or going into a movie, because now somebody at the movie theater knows you, or half of them know you, or a third of them know you. At the grocery store, people know you, and it's a lonelier life because they're spending more of their time in hotel rooms or at their ranch by themselves, and their public, their going out in public is now restricted. To
yeah.
pretty much now. I mean, you really need a bodyguard
Yeah.
to go out in public.
It's pretty gnarly. It's pretty crazy. I used to work for this boxer named Roy Jones Jr. um
Yeah.
for about 2 years, and before I actually moved did the whole Los Angeles thing. I was in Pensacola, Florida, and I mean I didn't really understand like the background of him until I was working around with him for in a couple months I figured, oh whoa, he must be a big deal. And people are like, yeah, he's really famous. Like he's one of the best boxers of all time. And we would be going to lunch for like during our breaks. We would see people staring, and I want a picture, I want a picture, and we go to dinner, and it's like whoa. I'm like, and I asked him, I said, do you ever get tired of this? And he says, yeah, it comes with the job. Like that's just kind of what happens. But he said, I'm glad people are used to me here in Pensacola, Florida. It's not like they see me all the time because he's one of those celebrities that are like out and about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I was just like, I just was like, how do you get used to people staring and wanting your autograph all day?
Yeah. What comes with fame also, it takes away from your privacy.
You're right. Yeah.
So more fame equals less privacy.
Right. Right. Like, well, how do you know when something's good and you're like, okay, I'm done writing. I'm done, I'm gonna put this out. This is finished.
Right now, I'm just working on covers
Okay.
to get out there, but I do carry a notebook with me. I don't write music, so I would have to get with somebody, probably my guy in Argentina to write. But I'm better at writing lyrics than
Nice.
anything else. So I've got a notebook that I carry around, and pretty much keep it with me all the time. And when those thoughts start pouring out, I'll just start writing down stuff, and then just finish the page, turn the page, and fill it up. And then so at at what point, at whatever point, I need some lyrics or songs or whatever, I'll have a notebook full of notes.
Nice to
And
like pull from, huh?
mhm.
That's really, really cool. I was going to ask, and this is going to be kind of a funny question, but did you hear about the what is it? What's her name? Oh gosh. Oh yeah, that Beyonce is making a country album.
I heard about that.
What do you think about that? How do you feel about people kind of crossing over into country?
You know what? I mean, I never really was one of her what you would call fans. I mean, I never bought one of her CDs or anything, but
Yeah,
um,
same.
I would say go for it because she'll bring something to country music that hasn't been brought before,
Mm,
and I don't know what that is, but as talented as she is, you know, she'll make her mark, and she'll change country music just a tiny bit, but probably a
yeah.
tiny bit for the better.
That's cool. I like when I like that. I've been hearing some, different, reviews about that. And I think it was Dolly Parton, she was saying that she thinks that she's excited to see, what she brings to it. Because I think it's, like you said, I think that there has been that kind of crossover in music a few times. Um, there's like a country artist would do a song with I don't know, a rock star or or a rapper. I think that's is it Garth Brooks or maybe not. I don't know. Someone did something with like Nelly. I can't remember his name, but there was like a mix. It was like a crossover and it was a hit. So I think, because nowadays music, the young people are listening to it and you want to get on the charts, you trying to make it kind of like, up to date with the trends that are happening now. And do you feel like you have to do that with your music? Sometimes you have to kind of be mindful of like the audience, or do you just do what you want to do?
They kind of just doing what we've done with the covers is just change them. You obviously there's rules as to what you can and can't do, but um, you can speed a song up that sometimes makes it sound better. You can always, as long as you have to keep the melody the same pretty much, and obviously the words you have to sing the same words. But yeah, I would say that we just would take an older country and western song and just kind of put our little version of salt and pepper on top of it.
What are you working on that you like to share with the audience? Is there anything that you're working on down the line?
The next song is going to be the road last traveled
Yes.
by Lauren Elena,
Nice.
and the song starts with banjos, and of course that's the first thing we're going to do is take the banjos out and replace those with an electric guitar. But yeah, that's the one. That'll be our next song, and it's probably going to be a few months down the road because right
Okay.
now I'm pretty much putting all my money into the promotion of Sacred Ground and hoping that'll start bringing enough money to so where I can start doing a lot more songs because I think I need 22 to 25 songs to be able to play in front of an audience. Be able to play 12 songs, take a break, and then play 12 more songs, and then wrap it up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I'm sure it's gonna happen because, it's a great song and I think, it's just, like you said, keep plugging away and I think it's gonna definitely continue to soar. It's a great song and, congratulations on everything you got going on.
Thank
Uh
you.
Definitely wish you all the best with everything down the line and you have to come back in the future.
All right, just let me know when.
All right, I definitely will. Also, where can people find you on social media to follow you on everything you have going on?
Pretty. It's everything is Daneka Nation, Daneka Nation. It's the band name.com, and then the band uh, Twitter, Facebook, or I guess it's X and Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, nice. Cool. Well, thank you
So
so much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
same here. I enjoyed it.
Me too. It was great.
Thank
And
you.
thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time.